you guys, thanks so much for clicking on my channel. We're all smiles over here. I am Will Sanja. It's like asking a question. Will Sanja help you keep your smile for today? And hopefully the answer is yes, you guys. I'm going to try not to keep it long, but y'all already know. If it gets good, I'm going to keep on talking. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The golden nugget today is never disappointed. But before I get to run my mouth, let's go and do what? Check out this manifestation jar, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, let's see. And I pulled out 2 or 3. And the first one says, what? Spiritual growth, which is what? Spiritual discovery. The next one says, what? New home. Congratulations. And last but not least, it says, what? Unexpected blessings, and we'll take that all day long. Listen, never disappointed. Y'all, I woke up hearing Cece Winans singing in my head her song called Every Time. And it starts out saying, never disappointed, never had a let down. By who? By God, which means what? Anytime you need God, every time you go to him, he's going to be right there, but you got to be open to receive him. Your heart has to be softened. The thing is, when we're not all the way aligned and connected, our heart is so hard. And why? Because we're trying to do things in our own strength. You know, God said it's not by might, it's not by power, but it's by my spirit, which means what? You got to get all the way aligned and connected. And then when you're all the way aligned and connected, then you can what? In all of your ways, acknowledge God, which means what? You're including God with everything that you're doing, which means what? He's going to be always there leading and guiding you. That way you don't have to hit rock bottom for him to do what? Get you to where you're supposed to be. The thing is, when we're not all the way aligned and connected, we'll say, I can do it in my own strength, which means what? The mind, body, and ego is moving and working in your life. Therefore, you think you could do it all by your lonesome. And then while you're having hiccups along the way and that road is so bumpy and you're going, I need some help. But you're not getting help. Why? Because as long as the mind, body, and ego is working, your heart is harder, which means what? It's not open so that God can step in, and God is on the sideline saying, hey, what? Tag me in. I see a cliff up ahead. You're about to fall off of it. Tag me in. I want to guide you. I want to get you to where you're supposed to be. You're about to fail. You're about to fail. You're about to fail. Something bad about to happen. Tag me in. But because the mind, body, and ego is leading, our heart is hardened. And so what has to happen when your heart is hardened? You have to go all the way through the process to hit rock bottom. And then once you hit rock bottom, then what? Your heart is broken. And when your heart is broken, you think it's a bad thing, but really it's a good thing, because now finally, because your heart is broken, now your heart is open so God can step in. And now when you're at that rock bottom state, you are so sincere in that prayer. You are so sincere in that call that you make it to God. God, I've tried everything. Can you please come and rescue me? And God said, boom, right there. Every single time. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to wait till you hit rock bottom for God to step in. Have your heart softened already. In other words, include God from the get-go, from the beginning of that thing, and watch how he'll lead you. Yeah, you may have some rough bumps in the road or whatnot. That's fine, but guess what? God knows how to maneuver you through those rough bumps in the road, which means what? He will be leading. And then you'll be what? Never disappointed, and you will never have a letdown, which means what? In the process of you getting to every single manifestation, you will grow through that process with the right attitude, with the right mindset. You'll be peaceful, you'll be happy, you'll be in the right space. And when you get to it, it won't even feel like a hard, bad journey. You just say, man, I grew a lot. I'm so grateful, I'm so thankful. Never disappointed, never having a letdown. So get into that space of allowing God to enter in, to be there from the beginning. A lot of times, like I said, when we're not all the way aligned and connected, we'll find ourselves feeling like we have been disappointed by God. And sometimes you will put yourself in a space to where you're not even supposed to be in, which means what? When you're not aligned and connected, you'll find yourself coveting something that doesn't belong to you. It looks good on somebody else, and you think because it looks good on them, I want that particular thing. It could be somebody's husband. You say, oh, he treats his wife real well. I want him. And you go after him. Or you say, oh, I see his wife and I want her. And you go after her. And you know what? When you just won't get it together, God will allow you to get those things that doesn't belong to you, so that you can learn the lesson through the consequences and through the pain. And if you're smart enough, you'll just get the lesson by God talking to you, so you won't even have to go through consequences or pain. But sometimes God has to teach us a lesson in consequences and in pain when we're so unaligned, when we want it this way. I just got to have his wife. I just got to have her husband. I just got to have their job. So you do sabotaging stuff to get things that doesn't belong to you. And while you having it, you'll have maybe some peaceful moments. You'll probably have some happy moments. Create some happy memories. But you're going to always have some hiccups within that thing. Why? Because it never belonged to you, which means it's going to always be a gap. It's almost like a puzzle piece, right? You're trying to complete the puzzle and you just can't be patient to get the right piece, or you can't find the right piece right away. And so you just get any old piece and you stick it in there and shove it in there. And you say, oh yeah, this fit. And then you know that piece doesn't belong the whole time. Everybody say, okay, something's off with that picture. Something's off with the puzzle piece, the whole thing. But they can't figure it out, but you know what's wrong. You got a piece in there that doesn't belong. And it has a space in it, a gap, because it can't fill that hole and that void. Therefore, you won't ever feel complete in something that never belonged to you. You'll have some happy moments, you'll have some joyous moments, but you'll know deep down inside that something is missing. And you know what? You'll find yourself saying things like, I wonder what would be or what would have been if I had not got myself into this. Especially for people who are married and they let people get in their ears and they allow them to swoop them away from what God had them in. You'll find yourself saying, if I had stayed with that person, or if I had stayed with that job, or if I had kept that car, if I had kept that home, I wonder what would have happened. And you see somebody else in that home you used to have. You see somebody else with that husband you used to have. You see somebody else with that wife you used to have. You see somebody else in that position you used to have in a job. And you see they're just as happy. And you see they're just as prosperous. You see it's looking good. And you're wondering, that could have been me. What if? What if? You don't want to go through your life saying, what if? If you have found yourself or finding yourself in a coveting way, wanting something that belongs to somebody else, back away from that. You won't ever be satisfied. You will always feel like something is missing. And then when you just get tired of feeling like something is missing, you'll just go ahead and settle for that you settled for. And say, well, I'm just gonna make myself happy with this. But in the back of your head, in the back of your mind, it'll be there. What if? What if? You'll find yourself never satisfied. You will. I'm telling you something that I know. But I want you to be in the space to where you don't ever have to feel like a what if. You won't ever have to think about, what if I had done that? You won't ever feel, in other words, regret. Why? Because when you have put God first, He's not going to let you down. He's going to steer you to what He has for you, just for you. And when you get what God has for you, guess what? Completeness, assuredness, fitting perfectly. You're happy and put in the right space. You are. And can I tell you what? Sometimes if somebody has something that belongs to you and God knows that's not what they're supposed to be because it belongs to you, He'll remove that out the way. So you don't have to remove it yourself. If you know that God, sometimes I'll say that sometimes you don't know that belongs to you. And sometimes you will know that it belongs to you. But if you see somebody else with it, then don't you try to pry it away. God knows how to remove things out the way that does not belong. He does. He does. Sometimes people will be occupying your blessing. And you're saying, what's the hold up? And God's saying, don't worry about it. I'm about to get them on out the way. Because they weren't supposed to have it in the first place. That's what happens a lot of times. People will be occupying your space because they got it the wrong way. And that's why you wonder, I wonder why things didn't work out between them. It's because that never belonged to them. And so God had to what? Sever it. God had to remove that thing, whether it's a job, a husband, a wife, a friendship, whatever it is. If somebody got in it the wrong way, that means they were occupying something that belonged to somebody else. And that's why things don't last. That's why things break up. That's why things dissolve. Because God has something for somebody else. And if you in a way, God gonna remove you. I don't care how bad you want to cling to it. God will remove you out the way. He will. So listen, if you're worried about that you're not going to get what's yours, you don't have to worry anymore. Trust God, let Him lead, and know that every time you call on Him, He's going to be what? Right there. If you've never heard that song before by Cece Winans called Every Time, listen to it. Buy the CD. Buy it. Or go on YouTube and listen to it. You'll hear it. That song is so just comforting. When I heard it in my head playing, I said, well, I got to play it right now. I have the CD, but I think my sister have it or my mama have it. I remember us having it way back when ago, and it just popped in my head early this morning. Every time you call, I'm right there. Which means what? God never sleeps. You can't say that for everybody. Sometimes you can want to call your best friend, and it could be 1 in the morning. You know they're married. You say, oh, I can't call them because they're married and they sleep. God is not like that. Anytime and every time you need him, call upon him. And he's going to be right there, guiding you every step of the way, maneuvering you through those things. And listen, like I said, don't wait until you're about to hit rock bottom to call on him. Let your heart be softened so that at the get-go, at the beginning of that thing, you won't have to worry about what? Feeling like you're disappointed or feeling like things don't work out for you. Why? Because God will indeed guide you in the right direction, guide you to victory. And before you know it, you will have that manifestation. You will have just that was designed perfectly, strictly for you, okay? You'll get that thing, you will. But you got to allow God to lead. He's right there every single time. Never disappointed, and you will never have a letdown. Y'all get it, got it good. I hope so. But if you didn't get this thing, you better do what? Rewind and watch again. But in the meantime, in between time, if you take just a little bit of what I'm telling you and apply to your life to the best of your ability, you won't ever have to mask a smile. Why? Because your smiles will always be genuine. I'll talk to y'all soon. Be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed. Remember, never disappointed, and you'll never have a letdown when you're rocking out with God, letting him lead. Y'all know what's coming next. Ciao.